in the media here or even in public circles. There hasn't still been an acknowledgement by the Nigerian state about around the crimes and the atrocities that were committed by the Nigerian army during the civil war. So the entire conversation around Southeast separatism is still a very political live wire in the country, and Nnamdi sort of reviving those aspirations in the early 2010s and 10s through to 2020, right? Just sparked a really serious reaction on the part of the Nigerian government, and it led to the, illegal extradition, as you referred to in your introduction, and the trial, which continues today.
And his lawyers are saying that they're not getting the sort of access to him that they should get. They're unhappy too that he didn't get a bail on medical grounds. Is he, in those circumstances you've just described, likely to get a fair trial?
He is unlikely to get a fair trial, right? There are serious concerns about the overall independence of the Nigerian judiciary, and particularly with respect to how the prosecution has treated this case so far. The first thing to recognize is that this is not the first trial that Nnamdi Kanu, right, is standing, right? Nnamdi Kanu's cases have been going through the court system one way or another since about 2018, right? And even back then, access to him was restricted. His lawyers complained that they've basically not been able to been given the opportunity to put up an effective defense, right, because they've not had access to their clients. And the prosecution has largely gotten its way with respect to, all of the pleadings that it's made before the courts. The courts, for example, refused to consider the propriety of his extradition from Kenya, right, as material to this case. And also the prosecution is seeking a very harsh sentence, right, on behalf of him. And generally under Nigerian law, defendants who are standing trial for things like treason, right, rarely ever get freedom. They rarely ever get off the hook. And more importantly, their trials are sort of treated in a special way, wherein, basic access to human rights is generally left out the window.
Has he himself said anything, been able to say anything recently?
So he hasn't spoken so much, right, in the past, and even recently, right? Really since his return back to Nigeria under the circumstances you described, Nnamdi Kanu's public utterances have been very, very limited. He has not yet been given the opportunity to speak in court or enter a defense or really tell his side of the story, right? And right now you have a situation in Nigeria where even lawmakers, right, from the southeast, cultural and religious bodies are basically asked for, President Bola Tinubu, right, to either release him or at least guarantee that he will get a fair trial. And a lot of those concerns right now have not been addressed.
Mr. Tefion, political pundit in Lagos. Thank you very much indeed.
You are listening to Newsday here on the BBC World Service with James and Vic, and George Addo is back in the studio with the sport. But first, a few
So let us wait on the 20th. If she makes a ruling, one way or the other, wherever they stand, then we can take the battle from there.
So some people are saying that yes, political solution could be a way out of this situation. What do you think about this?
I will not comment on that. Whatever I'm involved in that is very serious underground, I will not comment on that. I support them in what they are doing. If there are things we are also doing some other places, we will continue doing it. But I can tell you by the grace of God, Nnamdi will not stay in this prison in the next 2 or 3 months. Or else I'm not part of this.